The following is suitable for all audiences. Hello and welcome everyone to another episode of Pass the Mic, a show dedicated to spotlighting success of women through sports. I'm Aldo Gandia, and with me is Alyssa Barbieri. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, Aldo. It's exciting to have you here in the booth, and I'm excited to introduce everyone to our guest for today because, it's going to be a little different.
Yeah, it definitely is going to be different. In the past, we've talked to female athletes on this show, but a lot of that time we're talking about their careers on the field. Today, we want to talk about how female sports can help drive success off the field. Our guest today played college soccer at Vanderbilt, where she was a two-time All-SEC selection, a Dean's List Scholar athlete, and two-time team captain.
And she also later played professional soccer for the Atlanta Beat in the inaugural season of the Women's United Soccer Association. But now she is a wealth manager and partner for Crestwood Advisors, where she works with clients to simplify financial decisions around planning for the future, including things like divorce, loss of a spouse, and retirement. We now welcome Laurie Stefanowicz to Pass the Mic. Laurie, how are you doing today?
I'm great. Thank you so much, Alyssa. It's so nice to be here.
We're really excited to talk to you. And I know Aldo was saying before we joined, he's here to get a lot of financial advice, and so am I. So we really appreciate you being here with us today.
Well, thank you. Yes, it's definitely been a year where people have been searching for answers, lots of questions, and spending a lot of time with their advisors. So I'm here for you.
Thank you. And Laurie, what I'd like to do first is get to know a little bit about your background. I understand that you started playing soccer when you were 3 years old. Tell me what attracted you to the game, and did you immediately start scoring goals and blocking shots, or was it a process of learning the game and becoming really good at it?
Yeah, well, I am the youngest of four, so I have an older sister and two other brothers, and my dad always coached their teams, so you could say I literally grew up on the soccer field. So a lot of it, I started out just watching the game and then started playing on my own. And like a lot of young girls back then, I started playing with the boys up until I was about 9 or 10 years old. And at that point, my parents found a girls' travel team a couple towns over, and I started traveling about 30 minutes a day to practice so I could play with the girls. And then it just became something that, my parents were very supportive and wanted all of their kids to try different sports. And so I always played whatever else was out there, basketball, tennis, swimming. And then it just became that they realized and I realized that soccer was my passion, and I was pretty good at it. So they, drove me around the state to all different soccer practices and games and anywhere I could go. So,
were you naturally competitive? Because my stepdaughter, who was very athletic, but she never had that passion or competitive streak to, excel at sports. She just did it because it was fun, but really didn't care much about it. Were you naturally competitive, and did playing against boys even amplify that?
Yes, I think so. I'm still competitive to this day. Ask my kids. No matter what it is, a family game night or trying to kick the soccer ball for them on the field. So that competitiveness is just part of my nature. And so that's always been with me. I think it's just been fostering it and getting out in the right outlets and, being part of a team to make it all come together.
It's funny because hearing you talk about growing up around sports and that competitive nature, I'm like, it's like she's talking about me. So I had the same similar personality there. And, obviously you did play professional soccer for the Atlanta Beat there. Can you talk about the particular struggles that, that you faced as a female professional athlete in a startup league?
Yeah, so I'll say the whole experience was very surreal for me, and I only can say that now because, ironically, my daughter had to do a school project a few weeks ago on something that happened in the past, any family member, and I was like, the WSA was a pretty significant thing in history. Like, you might want to interview your own mom about it, and in doing so, she found some things on the internet and actually the old draft for the WSA. And for me, when I was coming out, I just finished college my senior year. I finished my last game senior year, and I just thought this was it. It's time to hang up, the cleats and move on, because at that time there wasn't really even talk about this league. And then everything kind of fast forward. The league did a draft weekend the following February, and everything just happened so quickly for me. So it was such a weird to reflect on it and see the draft for the first time in literally 20 years. So for me, it happened so quickly, and I didn't even have time to think about anything. And for me, it was the first year and the most exciting year of the WSA. And so I was lucky enough to be a product of what women had worked for so many years prior to that. For me, it was a different journey than someone who, like the Mia Hamms and Christine Lillys of the world, that were just, fighting through winning the World Cup and trying to get this momentum for it to start in the United States. So I feel very blessed to be part of it. And like I said, it was some very surreal moment for me just to hear my name. I was the last person drafted in the entire WSA. So I always say, I think in football, you get like a car, and I did not get that, but I got the opportunity to play in the WSA for the first year. So.
And you were saying that you were reflecting back on that moment with your daughter. Was there, as you're going through that, what was a moment aside from like the draft, maybe like during your playing career that really stood out for you, that you, when you thought back to that experience in your life, you're like, oh yes, I remember this moment very vividly?
I got drafted. It was about March of my senior year in college. So that's when most people are kind of winding down in their studies and their academics and getting ready for the next step. And I really wanted to continue graduating. I wanted to graduate, and I wanted to have the opportunity to play. So I spent the next couple months driving back and forth between Atlanta and Nashville, going to practice, going to class so I could get it done. So graduating that 4 years was really key to me. So I look back at that and say, what accomplishment in order to do both. But there's just moments of, my childhood, my college career, and everything, like these little tidbits that I pull out that just kind of, when you sit back and reflect, give you a chills, and you're like, wow, I did this. And I will say the other day, after talking more about it with my daughter and watching that draft video for the first time, I was like, wow, I was really part of something special.
Was there a particular kind of pressure involved in being in a startup league, aside from just being a professional athlete and going out there to try to win games and being a great teammate and all of those challenges? Was there something also added to the pressure, given that you were trying to help a brand new league, a historic league, get a firm foundation and carry on?
Yeah, it was a business, right? It was the first time that you were playing soccer and getting paid for it. And and there was a business surrounding all of it. Before, you just laced, your cleats on and you go out and had fun. I mean, college was a different level, and of course you're representing your school and everything like that. But this was the first time. So from the very minute that practices started, the minute you showed up on the field, like you showed up every single day and you competed every single day. And then when we weren't practicing or playing, you were doing things in the community to raise awareness about the women's games. It was picture opportunities or volunteering our time at a youth soccer camp. So it wasn't just what we were doing on the field, it was what we were doing off the field to market the game and market the sport and get people to come and enjoy it.
being a part of that experience, did that help you personally provide a foundation for your transition into being a wealth manager? Was there any connection there?
I can connect many dots with my sports career, not just what happened at Atlanta, but college and in youth. I can say that athletics and sports have definitely helped me in my current position and my current career as a wealth manager in many different ways.
That's great.
And so obviously for any athlete, getting started in, Pee-wee, middle school, high school, the goal is that they want to make it to the big times and become a professional athlete. But, the reality is that, doesn't happen for a lot of people. And not all girls, women or even men will become professional athletes. So what advice do you have about preparing for the future financially?
For the financially, I guess I would say this, whether you're an athlete, whether you're a teacher, whatever profession you choose, the ideas and the principles to follow are the same. It's about starting early. It's about simply just spending less money than you make. And most importantly, it's about educating yourself too. So it is just now new that in high school and college curriculums that people receive financial education, and it's still not prevalent enough. And it's amazing because no matter what you do in life, right, you need to know what a credit card is, a checking account, savings account when you go off to college and then beyond. And so this is a life lesson that should be taught more. So whatever you can do to educate yourself financially is very, very important. For young adults out there, it's very hard. You're starting your first job. You have these things in front of you, decisions to make, retirement accounts, healthcare, things like that, there's so many options and a lot of things to choose from. So, I always encourage our clients, younger kids and stuff, to take advantage of family relationships and have conversations with us. So it's out there. There's a lot of things, but finding a trusted professional to help you with some of those decisions is key. So, but again, no matter what you choose to do, the principles are all the same. Start early and be really responsible.
I can second that from my own personal experience because I didn't have that kind of upbringing where I come from a single family home and my mom worked her butt off, but she didn't know how to manage money well. And so she didn't pass that on to me. So after I got done with college and during college, I'm being sent all these, hey, you get a credit card with free line of credit for this. And oh, sure. And all of a sudden I realized I got 6 credit cards in my wallet and I've got about a $10,000 debt in credit cards. And then finally, I was fortunate to have a good job and somebody suggested I get a money manager, a wealth manager, and that really, really changed my life. It was such an important part of growing up. And now with a daughter, a biological daughter who's a school teacher and a stepdaughter who is just finished college, we're trying to instill those same values of, manage your money early, and we've been teaching them that since they were kids, giving them fake accounts and having them manage money. So do you suggest things like that for kids when you're bringing them up? Is maybe, what kind of things do you suggest in terms of things to do that will give them a sense of managing money?
Yeah, I've taught an entire class just breaking it down, like what can you do from age 3 to 6, 6 to 9, the teenage years. I think, the most important thing are little things. I remember sitting down in my daughter's 4th grade class, and the teacher said on the first day of school, give your kids money because they don't see money anymore. They don't feel it. They don't touch it. They don't count it. Everything we use is a credit card these days, to get points, and kids don't see money. So giving kids money and letting them learn how to spend and subtract and add when they're standing in a store or leave the tip at a restaurant is really key. But also having kids have a skin in the game. Many are very blessed and walk around with these extremely expensive iPhones and things like that. But making your kids pay for them or at least work towards paying for them, I think is really important. And then there's definitely things out there in the teenage years that can help have more control of their money and their expenses and what they're spending. Like one thing I use for my kids is called Green Light, and they've just expanded what that you can do with it. But it used to be a simple kind of ATM or debit card where if they did chores, I could put money on that and they could go and spend their own money. So there are definitely things out there that we can get our kids from a very early age on taking control of their finances and participating in it.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, I'm a school teacher and I do something similar at school with that because to just kind of echo what you were saying, like to get them like involved and where it's not just their parents buying them something, where we have like these class dollars that they can earn and they can, save up and they can buy things. And so them realizing, oh, they can't, if they blow all their money, then they can't, go back the next week and buy something. So like you said, I think that's important. And that's why I've wanted to get them some early experience as fifth graders, just kind of understanding the importance of that. And, something that you have done as well is you have an educational program called Conversations with Women, where that's going to help encourage and empower women to take control of their finances. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure. So every decision I've made, well, not every decision, but many decisions in life I've made based on what are the benefits from an educational standpoint as well, like where I went to high school. When I chose Vanderbilt, like it wasn't just about the soccer field, it was about what happens off the soccer field as well. And my parents too were very supportive of those decisions. So one of the strongest things that I think builds a foundation is just education. And like I said, there is a lot out there, but it's digesting it and it's figuring out for people who's overwhelmed, like where do I even start? So I started in 2012 a women's initiative called Conversations with Women. It was an educational program where I wanted to educate 2012 women. And with the help of a colleague at the time, as well as other local professionals, we achieved that. And we achieved it through different seminars, webinars, and just getting out there and educating women on wealth management, financial planning, estate planning, insurance, divorce, you name it. We came up with an educational topic about it. And people were there just to talk about their designated fields, not sell a product or anything like that. We just really wanted women to walk away and feel empowered, because when you have education, you understand what you're talking about, you can have better conversations with your spouse or your partner or your boss or your children. So everything we do came from an educational background.
That is outstanding. And when running programs like that, what kind of challenges do you face in getting successful results? Do you measure those teachings? Do you follow up with people to see what they retained or anything like that?
For sure. I did it for two reasons. One, first and foremost, was to help the community and to get out there. And like I said, the purpose was to educate women. But it also made me a better professional as well. As I sat in rooms and with 30 women deep, and as long as they're comfortable, they'll start asking questions, and I really figure out what's on their mind and what troubles them or keeps them awake at night. So it really made me a better professional to learn what's important. What are they looking at from a financial advisor? What do they need to hear from them? What do they need to learn? So it definitely helped me out. It was earlier in my career as well. So it definitely helped me as a professional. But the hardest part is people making time and showing up and doing the work. As soon as I had to kind of curtail and stop doing as many as I had done that year, people were like, wait, where are your seminars? When are you having them again? Like, where were you last year? So I think it's like anything, when it's something that you need to do and spend time on yourself, people have a hard time of carving that out and making it an important part of their life.
You said in the previous interview, you were asked the question, what's the best advice you ever received? And you said that you spent a lot of time in the car with your father, and he would always tell you to close your eyes and visualize things, which is pretty cool, because when I was younger, I read a book by Bill Russell, the famous basketball player, and he would talk about him being in the bus to the next game, and he would visualize the entire game from the opening tip-off to the final, and it helped him become a better basketball player. I thought that was great advice. Is that something that you can apply also to just kind of everyday things outside the sports field?
100%.
Wow.
So yes, I spent many, many hours in the car with my dad, and he always said that. And I still do it. So I always joke with my clients. I'm like, well, you're a client when I'm up at 3:00 in the morning thinking about you. So that's the one thing that separates, I think, financial planners from another, is that some people don't think out of the box. They just spit out what a computer program does and they put it down and they say, here you go. But life is dynamic. It's ever changing, right? What happens, we could set a plan up in 6 months now. It could be completely derailed. Like you have a year like last year and you have COVID, like whoever saw that coming. So the thing with a financial plan is that you revisit it and you have that relationship with your planner to revisit that plan as often as you need to. I get a lot of women that are going through some kind of transition, a divorce or a death of a spouse. And I always say to them, like, okay, this is our goal right now, but what it can change in 6 months or 2 years. So you have to visualize what you're trying to get to and what the client's end game is as well, and then build the plan around it. So I very much visualize for my clients.
And you brought up, obviously, 2020 and the craziness that was that year. And obviously, last year really made us all think about things a little differently. How did 2020 change people's investment plans?
Well, the smartest thing that you could do is not, jump ship and totally get nervous or freak out about what was happening, and rely on professionals like myself and others to steer you in the right direction. But there were opportunities for you to adjust or change your portfolio last year as well. So again, having that relationship and honest dialogue with people, there were some things that you could do to better your situation, but always the key is not to panic. So, and especially in cases like last year, was not to panic from a financial perspective, and totally abandon maybe a plan that you had set up.
And did you notice like any trends last year with that happening? Obviously, it feels like that would be someone's first like instinct would be to kind of like, hit the panic button. So did you notice a lot of that happening last year? And has there been a change with 2021 and how things are progressing?
We kind of knew right away that it wasn't the same as the financial crisis of 2008, right? The market drop was pointed a lot to the pandemic, but what we didn't know was how long that was going to last. And, we didn't have a crystal ball, so we weren't able to tell clients that. So like I said, it was just making adjustments along the way to kind of take some risk off the table. But most importantly, I think what it gave some people time is they did see the markets recover and they had time on their hands to really reflect about their plan. So I always say volatility really shows what people's risk tolerance is, right? So you had a time where you had more and more time to talk with your clients and figure out what their needs are. And once everything kind of calmed down in the second half of the year, my conversations got a lot longer, that people are realizing, life's short. Maybe I, want to take my family on a trip when we can travel again, or finally retire or buy that second home. So people started thinking about what's really important to them after we kind of went through the big volatility of the beginning of last year.
Help me out here. If my kids come to me and says, hey, I want to start talking to financial planners, what are good questions to ask the financial planner? I'm immediately going to go to Google, but maybe you can save me a trip to Google. What should they ask?
Like I said, there's a lot of information out there. So Google and you'll find what are the 10 things I should ask my advisor. But I think the most important things are, one, that you can communicate, that you have an open and honest relationship. Like your finances are, and it tells your whole story. It tells your whole story. And for some, it's not even only the current story they're in, but also that, like talking about, your relationship with money started way back, like you mentioned, with your mom. So it's a very personal and intimate relationship with your financial advisor in that case. So you need to have an open communication and understand and ask questions. Secondly, you always want someone who is looking at out for your best interests. So not someone that's selling you a product or a financial product that you have to sit there and say, is this good for me? Is it good for them? So you really want solid, independent advice from a trusted professional, I think is very key. And I also believe that the investment strategy matters. And most importantly, that, you have the plan that all goes together with your investment management piece and your total financial plan. So it all works together.
I've got another couple of soccer questions, but before I go back there, is there anything else that you'd like to share with us regarding wealth management that you can share with our audience?
Sure. I think, again, there's a lot of people out there that are hesitant to work with a professional or somebody that they've been working with for a really, really long time, but don't feel great about it. So I think it's like anything we do in life. I think it's always worth to get a second opinion and always have a conversation with somebody else. If there's like a little feeling in your stomach that what you're doing isn't right, or you don't feel that you're as confident about your financial picture, then it doesn't cost anything, or it doesn't cost you anything, most importantly, to go out and have a second opinion for somebody else, because there's little things that you can do that will make and set you up for your future in a really good way, in a really positive way. So,
Alyssa, do you have any other wealth management questions? If not, let's talk some more soccer.
Yeah, well, okay, let's say that, I'm looking for financial advice and I wanted to turn to the folks at Crestwood. So can you give like a quick pitch for Crestwood? Like, how can people get involved? How could I contact you? What are some more information about the services that you provide, and how could I get started?
Sure. Well, Crestwood, our headquarters are up in Boston, and we have offices here in Fairfield County, Connecticut. We have a full team of wealth managers, portfolio managers, and client advisors. We are comprehensive wealth managers, so we work with our clients on a few different things. One, the important piece of the investment management, two, financial planning, and then the comprehensive piece where we kind of quarterback relationships with their estate planning attorneys, tax advisors, insurance representatives, and we make sure all the pieces in the puzzle work together and fit nicely. So we have clients all over, though. At some point, they may have started here, but they've retired down in Florida or they're out in California. And it's really important for us to kind of build a relationship with those people and be a part of their lives. So we like to have that one-on-one time with our clients. It's been interesting in this new COVID world, and we've probably connected with more people over Zoom than we want to ever do in the future. But it's luckily we have it, and we're able to stay connected to those clients. But visit our website. It's crestwoodadvisors.com, and you can get a feel for the different services we provide and our full team. And we would love to speak with anybody that's interested.
Fabulous. All right. I got a couple of soccer questions. I, like millions of others, live vicariously through the sports athletic exploits of players. Share with us a great memory that you had, either college soccer, professional soccer. Share with us, what exactly happened. What was your role in the play of the game? I'd love to hear that story.
Well, I have a couple, but
we've got time.
We've got time. All right. So I have two from no, I'll give you one when I was 9 years old. And so that was funny. As I had mentioned, I had always played on the boys' teams. And I started with this new team a couple towns over. It was a girls. And I had never played. I just kind of showed up with my uniform. And of course, in the first few minutes of the game, I scored an own goal. So the ball went off of me into our own net. And I was like, oh, what an impression to make, first time playing with these girls. And so the coach always tells the story that 2 minutes later, from the kickoff, I just ran down and scored on the other goal. So he was like, okay, well, you evened that score out pretty well, but great. I still remember it to this day. And then college, like I have great memories of college. We were part of the SEC, which was an amazing conference. And every year our big hype was obviously when we played the University of Florida. So, and I actually always got the opportunity to play against Abby Wambach. So it was at the same time. But and it was always a struggle to the end. But if you can't see me right now, but I am 5'2", and Abby Wambach is not. So every game in Florida, I definitely came off with some kind of black eye or something on my face, and that was just her being the tough Abby Wambach that she is, but me just being small and in the wrong place at the right time or what have you. So. But one of my most favorite memories from college was I had a couple different college coaches throughout the year. And there was one particular game, it was my senior year. And all he kept asking was everyone to play with heart. And I literally got the ball at our 6-yard line and fought my way through and won like 3 or 4 tackles in a row and dribbled down the field and then got a corner kick for us that we ended up scoring and winning the game. And he just threw the support down and he's like, that's what I'm talking about. So I always played with heart, and I still always play with heart and give 100% of what I do. So that was pretty awesome.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, and you were talking about like how big of a part soccer was in your life. Are you still involved in soccer? Is your family involved in soccer at all? Is that a passion that, still drives you even to this day?
So I am involved, but I'm on the sideline. I have 2 young daughters. They are 13 and 11. And I coached them up until they were my older one till she was about 9, and then the younger one a little less. And I find like a good role for me is to be on the sideline cheering them on right now. So I think it's really good that they learn from other people and different coaches and have that experience because that's part of life too, right? You hear the chatter like, oh, that's not fair. They didn't do this. And it's like, you know what? Wait till she has her first boss in her job or something like that. These are the life skills that we put our kids in sports to. So I enjoy. Now, don't get me wrong, when they get in the car, I have a few little tidbits that they can, but for the most part, I'm there just to cheer them on and support them and use athletics the same way I was able to use them, as a social outlet, as a competitive outlet, and just I think makes for a well-rounded person.
This has been fun. Tell our followers again where they can get a hold of Crestwood, or if you've got a social media account you want to share.
Yeah, so the best way to get in touch with us is to go to crestwoodadvisors.com, so www.crestwoodadvisors.com. You can also find us on LinkedIn as well. And under Crestwood Advisors, we have an account there too. But feel free you can click on our team, send an email, and connect with us in any way.
Thank you very much for being a part of the show. And listen, I will be back with the mic drop. Hey, do you like what you're hearing but aren't getting these shows automatically downloaded to your device? All you got to do is Google Bears Barroom Radio Network, and then you'll find us either on iTunes, Stitcher, Podbean, or even on Spotify. All you got to do again is subscribe to the Bears Barroom Radio Network, and then you'll get free automatic downloads of all of our content.
Welcome back to Pass the Mic. Now it's time for the mic drop where Aldo and I wrap up the show. So, Aldo, I know we've had a lot of different guests on the show, but this really gave a new perspective on what the lasting effects of sports can have, and also some great financial advice.
This was fun that we got an opportunity to talk with somebody who was a great college athlete, had a professional career, and now has great advice for managing wealth. And that you and I were talking in between the break, and that is just so important. So many people kind of never get a good grasp on how to do that. I know that I didn't. I was so reckless with money, and I was making a pretty good salary, and I was just always figuring out how to pay my bills by the end of the month. And it wasn't until I got professional help that sounded kind of weird. I got professional help, but it wasn't until I got professional financial advice help that I finally got things under control. And then when I married my wife Donna, boy, oh boy, then things really got good, because she had that type of upbringing with her parents where they taught her about managing money and paying bills on time and staying away from credit and blah, blah, blah. So listening to our guest, that was fabulous.
Yeah, that was great. And I remember she was talking specifically about like the examples of, when you're young, like, letting your kids tip. And I still like had a vivid memory of my mom teaching me and my stepdad how to tip. And I was like 8 years old, and I got it immediately, and he didn't. He needed more practice. And I remember that vividly, and getting, it's important for obviously, the younger kids coming up, who even like kind of going back to sports, athletes who, when they get in the game, they want to buy a whole bunch of stuff. Want to buy that new house, buy that new car, and then all of a sudden their money's gone. And this was just like great getting to hear her advice. So hopefully, anyone can listen to this and, not only see, her transition from sports and how that helps her in her professional career as a financial advisor, but also, give a lot of people financial advice, which especially in, our day and age now with, COVID and, the pandemic and how it's been affecting, our financials. It was just really good to hear her advice for everyone.
Yeah, indeed. One of the things that Donna and I did when our daughters, I have my biological daughter and then my stepdaughter, Donna's daughter, they're 2 years difference. And so when we first got married, we would, take vacations here and there. One time we did a vacation in downtown Chicago for a few days, and we gave each of them, I forgot what it was, like $150 or something like that, so that they could spend during the course of their vacation on souvenirs or what have you. And so we took them to American, what's that place called? The doll place, the American Girl? American Girl on Michigan Avenue. And so they were like, we want a doll. And well, we gave you money. It's up to you. And so they deliberated between the two of themselves. Should we spend this all? I mean, this is like almost every penny we have. Should we spend it on a doll? And so they did. And sorry, American Girl, but they hated the fact that they invested all that money on dolls that they really rarely played with. So I think they learned a big lesson, and we lost a potential sponsor.
Is American Girl still around? I remember I used to have one of those. But...
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
there we go. Okay, American Girl.
And if you want a companion to your doll, there's one down here in the basement.
I imagine somewhere stashed away. But I mean, that's pretty cool. Like even obviously, learning the lesson, like Laurie was mentioning. Nowadays, especially where it feels like parents are just like buying their kids everything. Like there's kids in second grade that have cell phones, and it's just kind of crazy, and they don't really understand the importance of money until it's in their hands, and then it's affecting them. So what you did, and giving them the money and then wasting it, and then not wasting it. Sorry, American Girl, but using it all in one spot and then not having a whole lot. That's a lesson that hopefully stuck with them for a long time.
It has, trust me. They still talk about it to this day.
That's great.
Okay, again, thanks to Laurie Stefanowicz for coming on the show. That was great. We always have a fun time on this show, but it really doesn't matter what show is on the network. We're always having fun here, right?
Exactly. And, we shook things up a little bit, which, we like to do here at the Bar Room. And, you did bring up the Bar Room, and we have other shows, obviously. So I might as well plug our football one, Buffon 55, just wrapped up its fourth season here on the Bar Room Network. But we will be back in the offseason to talk about the salary cap, the NFL draft, and free agency, so we aren't going anywhere. And remember, if you liked this episode of Pass the Mic, be sure to go back and listen to our entire library. Every show and every guest is unique, and the episodes aren't time sensitive. So this is definitely a show that you can binge here on the weekend or when you're driving home. So make sure you give it a listen.
Finally, our Twitter accounts. Give us a follow at Alyssa Barbieri and at Bears Barroom. This is Aldo and Alyssa for Pass the Mic. We'll talk to you soon.